Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam and you're watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies. And today I want to tell you about some of the funniest, most fun horror movies you can watch on Netflix this Halloween. So this list is going to be a mix of horror comedy and some lighter horror movies that are just really fun to watch. But I do recommend watching all of these. They're enjoyable for the Halloween season. Even if you're not really into horror comedy, there are some really great gems on this list, and there's going to be quite a few that I know not all of you have seen. All the way at the back of the pack, Little Evil is a Netflix original movie that came out just last year, last Halloween. I recommended it then, I recommend it still. It is fun. It's one of the lighter ones on this list. We are going to get into some very dark territory with these funny movies. But this one's about a little kid who's like Damien from The Omen. And it's funny. His stepdad is just sort of starting to figure out like what's going on with him. So really, honestly, just think like a spoof of The Omen. And this little kid, no one else really believes that anything's happening, but the little kid is creepy. He's funny looking at times. Some of the stuff he does is funny. It's a cool concept. It does sort of play like kind of an overlong sketch, but I enjoyed it. There's a little bit of heart there, and especially for one of Netflix's early Netflix original attempts in this horror genre, this one's a really solid attempt. Cult of Chucky is exactly what it sounds like. It's a shitty Chucky movie, and that is exactly what Chucky fans want in a Chucky movie. This is one of the more recent ones to have come out, and to me, the latter part of the Child's Play series of the Chucky movies is really where it's kind of started to find its voice, like with things like Bride of Chucky. It started to kind of figure out like, oh, okay, it's a dumb idea. It's a shitty movie. It's not scary, but let's just make like this crazy little horror movie. And Cult of Chucky is just that. If you're into the other ones, you'll probably like this one. If you've never liked a Chucky movie in your life, I wouldn't start watching them now. For another Netflix original, and the last one on this list, is The Babysitter. Now, it too is at the back of the pack because Netflix has not been killing it on Netflix originals until just recently with movies like Apostle, which I've recommended a couple of times recently. But since that one's not funny whatsoever, it doesn't make this list. But The Babysitter has its moments. Now, ultimately, to me, this does not really feel like a movie that could have warranted a wide release. If it had, it probably would have got dogged out pretty bad by critics. But for something that just gets delivered on Netflix, which is essentially a made-for-TV movie, it's got some gems in there. It's got some gold. A couple of the cast members are really fantastic. A couple of them are really horrible. I'll let you determine who's who when you watch it. But again, from top to bottom, I didn't love this movie, but there are times in it when I really, really liked it, and some times that I really sort of like could not believe what I was seeing, especially for a Netflix original movie. The Voices stars Ryan Reynolds as a schizophrenic serial killer whose pets talk to him. If that doesn't sell you on the movie, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do much better, but I'll try. It is a solid little flick. Now, it is a dark comedy, and it does get very dark, but Ryan Reynolds gives a great performance, and he really carries this movie, even though it does have a surprisingly stellar cast with people like Gemma Anderton, Anna Kendrick, and Academy Award winner Jackie Weaver. So it's a fun little movie, and it does a good job for what it is. It has, I'll say this one's probably criminally underwatched, just barely. I get a lot of comments on it in the comments section. I've never recommended it before, but it fits perfectly at this spot on this list, even though I know some of you out there are going to wish it was a lot higher. Out of all the ones on the list, Beyond the Gates is the least like a comedy. In fact, there's not really a lot of laughs in it, but it is fun. It's got a fun little throwback vibe. It's about a couple of brothers whose father passes away and leaves them his VHS store, his video rental store. And in the back, they find a game that's played with a VHS, which is something that does exist, or at least it used to. And essentially, this movie is Jumanji, but with this crazy, like, neon 80s horror theme. So that's why it's fun. It's a fun watch for Halloween. It does have some scary moments. It is low budget, but it's got a cool vibe unlike anything else you're going to see. And this one I had to recommend it somewhere, and it fits great on this list, even though it really is not a comedy. If you like this type of content, definitely click the subscribe button and be sure to click the little bell icon because I put videos out like this one every single week, multiple times a week. At number 5, the one the most people are going to complain about in the comments section by far is Tusk, directed by Kevin Smith. Now, I know a lot of people hate this movie. Meanwhile, a lot of people really love it. Now, the problem with this movie is it's so weird and it's so hard to tell what type of movie it is. I think it's not that people don't get it, it's that it just doesn't make sense that it should even exist, is really the honest thing about this movie. It doesn't make sense that Kevin Smith should have directed it. It doesn't make sense that Justin Long should be in it. It doesn't make sense that anybody should be in this movie, including Johnny Depp, who is very well hidden. He's in disguise. If you know to look for him, you will probably see him around the second half of the movie. But it is fun. Just know this one, because it's on this list, obviously, it is not intended to be taken seriously, even though there are some very serious moments in it. And honestly, there's some very incredible acting at moments, and then there's some really weird acting at other moments. It's this weird amalgamation of things that, as a movie lover and as a horror movie lover, I just enjoyed the shit out of it. Stitches is about an evil clown. And it's fun, and it's funny, and it's still a horror movie. Like, it's still scary. Now, there is another movie on Netflix currently called Clown. Don't get these two confused. Clown is just grim and dark all the way, even though it is kind of a weird subject matter. Stitches, it is grim and dark. It is gory. It is a slasher flick, essentially. But the gags in it, the way people are killed, are pretty funny. Some of them are hysterical. If you're in the mood for a good horror comedy that is a legit horror movie that is about a clown coming to kill people and it's not like a spoof or like a weird take on it, Stitches is an awesome movie. Is a famous, I'm not really that familiar with him, but the guy that plays Stitches is a comedian, I believe in Britain. He's fairly well known, or at least he was when this came out. He does a great job. He's kind of creepy and scary. The movie's got some real shock value moments, so it's that type of a thing. If you like movies like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Stitches is a great little weird clown movie you can add to your library. Creep 1 and 2 are possibly the more serious ones on the list, but they are kind of funny. Mark Duplass plays a total creep who is being documented by a journalist, essentially. So it's sort of a found footage type thing. But he's so weird, and so many weird little things happen in both of these movies, but they're so good. They're so well done. The thing I really liked about watching the first Creep the first time is I really couldn't figure out whether I was watching a comedy or something serious or what, and that's totally, by the end, you can tell it's totally intentional, and it's sort of this weird, wild ride. So really, truly, the less you know about it, the better. But if you're intrigued by the way I'm selling it, I would watch Creep 1. If you like it at all, definitely watch Creep 2, because in my opinion, Creep 2 beats out the first one, but you do have to watch the first one for Creep 2 to make any kind of sense. Murder Party is the first movie directed by Jeremy Saulnier, who went on to do Blue Ruin, Green Room, and most recently Hold the Dark, the Netflix original. If you like any of those movies, I definitely recommend checking this out. If you have no idea what any of those movies are, I still recommend it, because Murder Party is very different from his more serious thriller movies. Now, this does have some serious moments. It's got some gory moments. It's got some intense moments. But it's about a guy invited to a party that he doesn't know anyone there. And essentially, the people put the party on and invite him so that they can murder him. That's the only reason this party exists. And there's a lot of dialogue, but it's well written. It's funny. There's funny banter. There's funny things that happen. But it is grim. It's dark. It's just different from anything I've seen. And really, as you get to the last 15 minutes, the rails really come off and it really gets wild. So stick in there. But this is a really great Halloween watch because it also happens to take place on Halloween night, which just sort of adds to the flavor of the whole thing. And then at number 1 of my absolute favorite horror comedies, especially ones that come out recently, is Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. This one's so much fun. It's got a hard R rating because there's a lot of gore, but this one is, without a doubt, just a comedy that is in a horror setting. It's about a couple of guys out in a cabin. There are some campers that stumble across their cabin, and through a series of what we'll call unfortunate events, the campers start kind of picking themselves off by accident, yet they perceive it as Tucker and Dale being these Texas Chainsaw Massacre style murderers, and everything plays out really well. It's really funny. The cast is really funny. Movie's got a little bit of heart to it, but it's a really, really fun Halloween watch. If you've never seen it, put it on your list before the end of October. I definitely recommend checking it out this Halloween. If you've seen it and love it, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you'll be watching from this list in the comments below. But I'm going to keep putting movies out like this as long as you keep watching them. But thanks for checking this one out, and you will see me on the next one.